Joining me now on this week's episode of Draft Class is a longtime friend of mine from Knicks Twitter, and I'll introduce him as that before anything else. Oh, but he's also a writer at Knicks Fan TV, one of the co-hosts of the New York Knicks State of Mind podcast, which I've appeared on a time or two and is always like the most fun podcast to appear on. I've got my guy Chip Murphy here on this week's episode of Draft Class. Chip, thanks for coming on.
Kris, I'm honored to come on this podcast. Thank you so much, man.
It's a pleasure to have you. It's been awesome working with you on different things and always just chatting throughout the years. So I had to have you on the show now that I've got one of my own, right?
For sure. I'm happy for you, man. This is great.
I finally get to return the favor.
Yeah.
So we got a lot to talk about because there are a lot of NBA people gathered right now to watch a lot of these talented young fellas play. The draft combine, the combine scrimmages going on. We know last year, the New York Knicks paid a fair deal of attention to the results of those scrimmages. Quentin Grimes was the guy that Twitter scouts couldn't stop talking about after those scrimmage games. And where did he end up? And it was earlier than people thought he would get picked. People gave the pick an F. And he ended up on some, all the people that did 3 all rookie teams, people even that did 2, he ended up on the second. But I saw him on a lot of like top 15 best rookies this year. And he was seen as a reach at 25. So again, like someone who could come in, contribute right away. These scrimmages are something that the Knicks really look at. And I think because of that, it is not a coincidence that Knicks assistant coach Darren Erman is one of the head coaches of the scrimmage teams there. I mean, they've got all hands on deck, Chip.
Seriously, I wish he was. I forgot to tell you this before we came on, but I wish he was coaching Trevion Williams because that was the most fun of the combine so far for me to watch Trevion Williams play like that. That was fun. What did you think of him? I just want to get you on him.
I was gonna say fun. Like I was just gonna say like a colorful, like fresh air. His game reminds me of fresh air a bit. Like just that game, at least that performance was a lot of fun.
Yeah, he so much fun and just kind of showed how antiquated Purdue's offense is a little bit, that they wouldn't let him do shit like that. But we that's a different podcast and college basketball offenses in general. But it was just fun watching him do that, like, and just to see what he can do at the next level. And I don't know, I think he definitely deserves to be drafted. But yeah, it was cool watching a Knicks assistant coach these kids and coach, like we were talking about before we came on, Ron Harper Jr. was on that team. And that was very interesting. Yeah, because, he played well. And we don't know if the Knicks are interested or not. It's way too early to know anything like that, but we'll see. I love Ron. So
he's great. I saw Mavs Draft the other day, one of my favorite accounts for just general draft stuff on Twitter. He said, he would take him as early as 35 based on the team. So like, hey,
he's legit.
For a guy who I saw on a bunch of UDFA boards recently, I think that like right out of the first is not out of the question. So, him and Keels, I saw recently like getting talked about as potential like top of the line undrafted free agents. And I'm like, the only way that happens is if they choose not to be drafted. They tell teams, like if they happen to fall so far that they say, please don't draft me because I want to choose where I'm going to go. I think both of those guys get picked. And I don't know. I put a tweet out, like I'm seeing way too much noise about like the word undrafted with both of these guys' names. It just doesn't make sense.
I guess that at some point in the season, Harper was like late second undrafted, but I felt like he played his way into
for
drafted
sure
this year. Don't you think? Like
I did.
Yeah,
I guess some shot had some preconceived notions that they didn't let die.
Maybe some people don't buy the shot. I know this was the first year where he was consistently good shooting the 3, but I don't know. This was the best year of his career, and he came out now. I think it was a guy who definitely benefited from taking an extra year.
Yeah.
So that you have to give something to that. And I don't know. They didn't do I don't have any data on like his shooting numbers at the combine or whatever. I don't know what those were, but I don't think that's really important. But I buy the shot. I watch a lot of Rutgers games. Obviously, me and you are both from Jersey. We watch Rutgers, and I buy the shot. I think he worked really hard on it, and I think the shot's legit. I think he's going to be good.
Yeah, man. I definitely am interested in seeing the full list of final numbers of the shooting drills at the combine. I know for a fact that Emmanuel Quickley had like the second best percentage in his draft on one of the 3-point drills that totally put scouts onto him as like, oh wait, like this kid has all these question marks that we've gotten caught up in, but there's like a legitimate exclamation point here that's been right under our noses. And again, Knicks ended up taking him at 25. So same as Grimes, right? I think that it's important to look at these combine, performances, not as everything, but as a real factor for New York and their evaluation. And that's why Chip and I today are going to run through some of these combine measurements. First, we'll start with the measurements, then we'll get to some of these scrimmage results. But No Ceilings, shout out to No Ceilings NBA. First of all, they put together a thread that I was following live at the combine of just every player that came through,
Yeah, I was following it at work. I was looking at it.
Just putting out the stats, the height, weight, wingspan, standing reach for taller guys. That was awesome of them. And I want to start it off with Shaedon Sharpe, which is where they started, because he is a name of intrigue, not just personally, but for Knicks fans all around, it seems, as a potential trade up target. I was just talking with some friends earlier today about how I can see Detroit taking him at 5, or I can see Indiana taking him at 6 as like some actual real target spots for him. And those are very high. Like this kid was always talked about as, if he does declare college, if he does declare, he might go. I think there's a team with the 5th pick that would take him there. And that's worth noting. So yeah, 6'5", 0.25 in shoes, just under 200 pounds, came in at 198, 6'11 and a half wingspan.
Bananas.
You love to see that.
God.
You love to see that. I mean, that's
when I saw that, I was coming around to your way of thinking. When I saw that, I was like, wow.
So Shaedon for me is just like, it's a home run swing, right? We know that. Let me name some guys that like he physically compares to pre-draft. It's a weird list. Hamidou Diallo, Alan Crabb, DeAndre Liggins, if you remember him.
Kinda. I remember his name.
Jamal Franklin. It's a weird list, but this site is using the height 6'4". And you can't, that's just not what he came in at. He came in at a whole inch taller than that. So like the idea that people had before this combine of his frame, I think was a little misled. It was like, they thought he was built like Hamidou Diallo. And that is probably not something that goes hand in hand with the Paul George / Bradley Beal comparison that Kevin O'Connor gave him. So I totally get the hesitancy, right, from people comparing that frame with what he was getting hype wise. He's 6'5". He's 6'5" and a quarter in shoes. He's got almost a 7-foot wingspan. If that guy can put together, the counters on counters, like I think he can, really has to tighten up that handle. Really has to tighten up that handle. And I think it takes a little bit, even a full year, like before he's scoring with ease because of that handle. Like other than his athleticism, I mean, off the dribble scoring with ease. But yeah, like that playoff wing killer bet, I see it, right? You see it at 6'5" and a quarter, 7 foot, almost wingspan. 200 pounds right now. Obviously, every prospect and their mother has to get in an NBA weight room. It's on every scouting report. Needs NBA weight room. Needs. Yeah. Okay. They are students, right? It's a little different when you start getting paid to play a sport. It's really important to get in tip-top shape. You don't exactly have all the time in the world for that when you're still showing up to calculate.
Although hopefully he was being paid at Kentucky, you would think, or maybe not because he technically wasn't playing. But I don't know.
I feel like him even sitting on that bench cost Calipari a couple nice dinners. Probably,
right? But I'm talking about the NIL deal stuff. Name, image, likeness. I'm sure he got something for that. Not as much as he should, but that's again another podcast.
Of course. But for you, do you think that this is, a fastball coming down that you just have no chance of hitting out of the park because the handle's not there? You think he's too wiry, or do you think that there's a potential meatball coming down that you're staring down and that you could smash out of the park with this? I'm just picturing the versatility, speed, skill set, length, and funness of IQ, Shaedon, RJ, Cam, Obi, small ball 5. And I'm really intrigued. So I got to know what you think on this department.
Anybody who can shoot is someone that I'm willing to draft. And I know he can shoot, and I know he can play really goddamn fast. And I've watched enough. Look, I'm not as smart about this as you. I just told you that, and you know that. But I've watched enough YouTube of him and read, what Prez wrote about him on the Strickland. So
all you need.
Yeah, exactly. So I know enough to know he is, a freak athlete. He's going to be, if not already, a really good defender, enough probably to guard in the NBA right away. He can shoot and he can run with our guys, like you just said, with Quick and Obi. Yeah, get him on the team. Now, if it's a conversation between trading up for him or Jaden Ivey, I'm still going to go with Jaden, but I don't think that's realistic.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't blame you because I can't name. Can you name someone else in this draft class that you think him and Jaden Ivey are a similar kind of athlete?
No,
no, you cannot. Right. So
they're amazing. They're amazing.
No matter what, even if I can tell you, I know 3 teams that I heard would consider Shaedon number 1. Now this was a 3 or 4 weeks ago given, but yeah, I heard of 3 teams that would consider Shaedon number 1, and one of them is sitting there at 5. So yeah, I think that is a thing.
So it's a thing maybe Detroit trades up to 1 to get him, you think?
No, as in they like him enough that if they did, this was before we knew the lottery results. This was, if we landed 1, would we trade down and get him? Would we just take him there? Would we?
Oh yeah, obviously. You mean Detroit's going to take him now? Yeah.
I'm saying they liked him at 1. They got 5. I think that's a real, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, we would probably have to get there to 5 to guarantee ourselves Sharpe. Ivy, to guarantee yourself him, probably got to get up to 4. And with the situation that Sacramento's in,
why would they not take Ivy? They're so dumb. Yeah. Why wouldn't they take him? Look, if they want to trade us 4 for Ivy, go ahead. But they're so dumb if they don't just take him. I know. There's no answer for it.
I think that they are going to be actually, they might decide that because he is the opposite of Hallie, he would work with Luka. I don't know.
Luka? You just said Luka. Slip of the tongue.
Fox. There we go. That was great for me. That was great. Why am I thinking? Because you know why? Because the Luka trade.
This is in an alternate reality when they picked Luka.
The Luka trade has been in my mind, and because someone tried saying it was equal again the other day, and I tried imagining like the universe in which Luka was a king and they were idiots, and now that got stuck in my head. That's funny. That's actually funny that they could have just had him. He was right there. Yeah, the Knicks passed on a guy that 14 other teams did though. So let's cry.
The Suns did too, and they had his national team coach as their head coach, and they still passed on.
That was so good.
No one's good. Eventually, people are going to start talking about that. By the way,
that was unreal. Well, he just sent them packing, so people did talk about it. We got to talk about someone though that Knicks Twitter, to get back to serious world here, that Knicks Twitter has been not just filling my mentions with tweets about, but I feel like flooding the timeline with tweets about. Benedict Mathurin came in 6'6", 6'9" wingspan, 204 pounds. This is a classic case of the frame, the tools, it's all there. He doesn't play defense. You know, you got to teach it. It should be easy to teach given his frame, you know, but I just think that he probably isn't the home run that a lot of people think he is. I do think, and, you know, Sam Vecini talked about this on last week's episode of Draft Class, that Mathurin's going to be someone that teams are really comfortable drafting. I keep thinking about Washington at number 10 being the team that he doesn't get past. And the reason for that is the shooting, the work ethic we know is great with him, and the frame. Like, people are like, oh, this is a really normal wing bet. Look what the Grizzlies did last year with Zaire Williams. This is falling right in with the trend. Let's take him here at 10. So,
and safe kind of fits with their MO. Rui Hachimura, Corey Kispert. Yeah. It kind of fits with their MO.
So I could see the Wizards going with Mathurin. I can also see him falling to 11. And, you know, say, you know, Davis and Daniels are both off the board. And he's, you know, who the Knicks think they really like there. I could see them grabbing him and thinking, no, you know, knowing the fans would love it. What do you think about Mathurin? What do you think about this, you know, +3 wingspan coming in at a 6'9" for him, standing at 6'6"? And how would you feel if that was our guy at 11?
I mean, I would love to get him, but I do have some concerns based on what I saw in college, just about, like you said, about his defense a little bit. But it's hard for me to get too concerned about guys' defense in college when I feel like no one plays defense in college anymore, or none of the great players. I shouldn't say none of the great players. A lot of the great players don't play defense in college, and then they get to the pros and all of a sudden they can play defense. Like, I just remember Jason Tatum, just all of a sudden he could play defense when he got on the Celtics. Like, so maybe this is just like a thing in college. Like, he's just like, I'm not going to play defense, or that's a lazy way to put it, but it's just, you know, he's not exactly locked in at the college level because, you know, he knows what he is. He can just dominate. Yeah, he's this freak athlete. Every time he gets on the court, he's so much better than everyone else, pretty much, that he's just like, I am what I am. You can't stop me. Yeah. Good luck.
Absolutely.
And, yeah. But I mean, look, if he fell to us at 11, then yeah, I think it would be a great pick. There's not a lot of guys where the Knicks can afford to turn away talent like that. Yeah. Like, I got you. It's, if they take a talent like that, then yeah, you got to be very excited with that pick.
I think that 11 is an interesting spot because we saw last year, you know, where'd Book Night go? And he was someone people were talking about.
Shout out to CK on the Book Night pick too.
6, 7, even 9. People were talking about Book Night. It was like 9 would be the latest, right? Or 8 would be the latest. He went 11. Yeah. So I'm not trying to drum up hopium for no reason here, but I really think that someone that ends up being damn good at basketball gets picked at 11th this year. I hope it's by the New York Knicks. There's
been a lot of good 11 overall picks. We were going over that on Knicks Fan TV. SGA went 11th. I forget off the top of my head. I know Reggie Miller was one of the ones we said because that was something that we kind of grown about. But there's been a lot of good 11th overall picks.
Cam Johnson, Domas
Cam
Sabonis, Klay Thompson,
Clay.
JJ Redick.
Was Powell 11th? Powell might have been. I know JJ was.
I don't think so. I don't think
No, Powell was higher.
Allen Houston.
Allen Houston was the one I was thinking of.
Gary Trent, but in 1995.
Yeah. Okay, the first Gary Trent. Yeah, Gary Trent Sr.
Devin Vassell.
I like him. Yeah, I think he's going to be good.
Buy stock. No one's really talking about him, and it's quiet in San Antonio. No one cares. Buy stock that he's going to pop.
Everyone thinks they're trading DeJounte Murray, and they're not.
Just because they're the Spurs, just because, well, they're going to trade him because I want him on my team, right?
Yeah, their Thunder are going to trade SGA just because the Knicks want him. No, they're not.
I wish
that would be amazing, but I don't.
That kid, I've said for a while I'd trade for him before I trade for Donovan. So I'm a big SGA guy.
It's not a crazy take.
It used to be, and then the playoffs happened this year, and now people are on my side. Now people are SGA fans because
no one watches the Thunder. No one knows what he looks like, and I don't watch a lot of Thunder either or anything, but I just know he's amazing. Yeah, and they're both amazing players.
Donovan's just lack of size in the playoffs killed him. You want to know who's not going to deal with that? 6'7.5". 195 pounds, 6'10.5" wingspan, point guard, Dyson Daniels.
Oh, I was like, where are you going with this? Very well done. Very expertly done.
This is someone who Stone Hansen brought up on episode 2 of Draft Class as really interesting him for the Knicks. This is someone that Floor and Ceiling brought up on episode 3 as really interesting to him for the Knicks. And this is someone that Sam Vecini brought up and lauded on episode 5.
I heard Sam Vecini talk about him and like what his agent was saying about him too. I'm so fascinated by Dyson Daniels, man.
He was saying that the agent
interested in him
was pushing that he was 6'8" to everyone.
Yeah.
And everyone was waiting to report it because they were like, what? No way. And the kid measures in at 6'7.5". So, I tweeted this. It's not quite the 6'8" that his agent was toting, but it's still really good. Again, we're talking about a point guard here. So it's really, really natural for everyone. People loved doing this with Frank Ntilikina and Killian Hayes. Like, oh, well, Dyson Daniels is going to be just like Josh Giddey. Well, no. But
I'd take it. Yeah.
It doesn't mean that Daniels can't still be really good. I want to know what you think about him. I want to know how you'd feel. Again, he would be someone we'd be taking at 11, right? So how would you feel if he was the Knicks selection at 11 and that was just, maybe they keep Rose, trade the rest of the vets, go.
If that's what it means. Then yeah. Look, if that's what it means, then yeah. Look, you don't want to make a pick just
of course
for something like that to happen, of course. But he is a guy who is definitely. I feel bad saying like yes to everyone. So, but we just talked about Mathurin. I think I would put Daniels ahead of Mathurin just because I don't know the fact that. It's lame to say this, but I think there's just something about Daniels. Like you watch him and it's there's something cool about watching him play. And you mentioned the Josh Giddey thing, and yeah,
it's real to an extent.
Yeah, it's real to an extent, but you don't want to get caught up in that. And again, it's like his defense too. His defense is awesome right now. And I just think he's obviously already a good defender, but I think you take someone who, I guess as Knicks fans, we've been so bad for defensively for so long. If I see someone who's described as going to be a good defender, I'm automatically like interested in that person. And and who works hard and is a good defender, all that stuff. And that's what everybody's saying about this guy. He can handle the ball and he's a good defender. And I know the fact that he struggles with a shot is kind of scary to me. But
so I was going to say there's him and there's Johnny Davis. And those are the two guys.
Johnny Davis.
I love Johnny Davis. Those are
Johnny Davis is the guy.
Those, I love him. Those are the two guys. Those are the two that get really, really credited. They get their bouquets and a half of flowers for their defense. Davis, I mean, he looks like an edge rusher going around screens. He is a psychopath in regards to his motor. And, you know, I think an example of that, like, would be the fact that he had RJ rookie year spacing and still, you know, had to work harder than everyone else on his team for his buckets, as Prez told me one time. And he still led his conference in rebounds per game. This was a point that Prez made to me as like, look at how insane this guy is. Yeah. Daniels, same thing. But the thing with him is that the shot isn't quite there. So yeah, the size is there. He's several inches taller than Davis. His wingspan is impressive. For his position, his height is ridiculously impressive, but he has that unknown factor, right? So I'll ask kind of like a part B here to drafting Daniels. And I know it's a little unfair because you and I both love Johnny, but if it comes down to drafting someone like Daniels, who seems to have it all but the shot, or it comes down to drafting someone like Mathurin or Davis. Mathurin, you got to get to improve defensively. Davis, you're really just hoping everything translates from being able to get separation to, and I think it will because he's a great athlete, but you know, you're hoping he improves fluidity wise a little bit. And also just in terms of getting comfortable at the NBA level, making sure the shot making translates when he has those longer defenders in his face. What kind of pick would you rather make if you were the Knicks to get a little, I love to do this on every episode of Draft Class, so don't feel too special, but to get philosophical here, man, are you betting on someone like Dyson or would you just take a guy who can shoot and move it on? This reminds me of Vassell versus Okoro, by the way, that big Knick fan debate.
That was the big Vassell versus Okoro debate that amounted to nothing. The Vassell versus Okoro, wasn't there Mikal Bridges against Kevin Knox for some people too, and Malik Monk too? It was
Miles versus Mikal. Was Miles versus Mikal. He took neither.
Yeah. Oh God, Miles versus Mikal and Malik Monk. Was whatever. Malik Monk against Ntilikina, whoever it was.
I think it was Malik Monk and Lonnie Walker.
Malik Monk and Lonnie Walker.
Knicks fans loved Lonnie Walker.
Yeah,
out of Miami.
God. I kind of want to say you can take a chance on a guy and try and teach him to shoot. Yeah, because guys, it seems like now are capable of turning themselves into league average shooters easier. But I really like Johnny Davis, and I watched a lot of I'm a little biased. I watched a lot of Big Ten basketball this year, and I watched him, and you pointed out and you said what Prez said about the load that he carried at Wisconsin this year was incredible. There was for people who didn't watch Wisconsin, I'm sure there's some people listening at least that didn't watch. He played with a lot of bad players at Wisconsin, bad offensive players at Wisconsin. And he just carried that team. At one point, I think they were 1 or 2 in the country. Yeah, they were definitely top 5. And I mean, that was because of him. Imagine for NBA people, imagine the Russell Westbrook Oklahoma City Thunder when he won the MVP. It was kind of like that. Yeah. And he's just, someone that I'm not sure he's even going to fall to 11. I said this on Knicks Fan TV. This whole draft situation, this with him is very weird because sometimes I'll see it and he'll be picked at 12 and sometimes he'll be gone at 6. So I feel like I'm setting myself up to be like really, really sad on draft night when he goes like 5th or something wild like that. Probably not that high, but he's the guy I would like them to take if he's there, but who knows if he will be.
I think based on how Vicini was talking here on Draft Class, it seems like Mathurin and Dyson Daniels are 2 guys that will be gone, even if it's the Knicks or the team that takes one of them, that they're 2 guys that'll be gone by 11, both of them. Johnny Davis, I mean, I would just have to assume because of him not being seen as some stud superstar athlete. Even though I think, Stacy tweeted this the other day, Alan Turing at Stacy Patton 89 tweeted the other day, like, would Johnny Davis's athleticism get more credit and more praise if the front of his jersey said Kentucky instead of Wisconsin?
It's a great point.
To which I think
great
it would.
Point.
But nevertheless, however, I think Johnny could go at 7 or 8. I think a guy like Duran could go there because some team falls in love and then Johnny gets pushed back to 11 or 12 or whatever it is. So we'll see. I know the Pelicans are probably looking at Dyson, Johnny, and Mathurin with magnifying glasses, because I feel like just adding one of those guys to that core there, just adding your playoff switchable wings, Mathurin that would be cool, right? You got Herb and Mathurin, one could start and bring Mathurin off the bench, and you just really need him to start guarding. But yeah,
I don't want David Griffin winding up with Johnny Davis. That would not sit well with me if he gets. He doesn't deserve good things. He just doesn't. He's got too many of them. He got a 3rd place vote for executive of the year this year. One of them. I was gonna tag you, be like, who gave Chip a vote? Huh? I decided I didn't want to ruin your day. Oh God, I don't understand. I'm sorry that I even mentioned his name now.
The hype about him this year is because of what he was able to do to undo all his previous bad decisions.
Yeah, exactly.
Good job, buddy. You climbed out of the hole with lava on the bottom of it that you jumped into for no reason.
It's like when a GM clears up his awful cap space, his awful cap decisions that he made, like he's supposed to get a pat on the back for that. Like he traded for CJ McCollum because Zion got hurt and he needed someone to score. Like, and the Blazers wanted to get rid of CJ McCollum. Yeah. Like, whatever.
Him putting Josh Hart on the table was like the big thing that made sure that they had the best package. That market was hilarious. Anyway, there's 2 guys that I'm really interested and excited to get into next. Johnny's coming up, but we got to start off with Beauchamp, man. Marjon Beauchamp, 6'6.5", 7-foot wingspan, and it's almost 7'1". Kid weighs 197 pounds. I call all these guys kid, despite the fact that I think it's this class now that like most of them are my exact age.
He's older than you, though, right?
Anyone that's not, and anyone that's not a freshman is probably older than me, or then they reclassed. Well, whatever. Yeah. 7-foot wingspan for Beauchamp, the G League Ignite wing. This is a guy that I believe met with Philly and said it went really well. That's a team I could see wanting an athletic swing and picking him. Do you have thoughts on Beauchamp? Do these measurements change your thoughts on him in any way? Do you think he was, this lanky? That plus 4-ish, 5.5-ish wingspan is pretty good. So
yeah, that's the magic number. 7-foot wingspan is the magic number. So when I saw 7 foot, I was like, yeah, that's pretty incredible. Like 6'6", I guess 197 and 7-foot wingspan. I was like, a wing with a 7-foot wingspan. I don't know. He's not going to be there. He's not an option for us at 11. But yeah, I mean, it's automatically that's intriguing. It's funny to say, like, it's wingspan season right now. It's wingspan season. We love that word, but as I believe it was Tiff that said this morning, it's the New York Knicks are interested in season. Oh, that must have been about Malcolm Brogdon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's
no way they are, by the way. There's no way they are.
Oh, I know one guy in that front office who wants to trade 11 for Malcolm Brogdon.
Is Tom Thibodeau technically in the front office?
I'm not developing another goddamn rookie. None of them know how to ice. They can't fucking ice. Leon. Damn it. Where's Taj?
Oh, shit. Oh God, bring Luol Deng back.
He wakes up in a cold sweat at 4 a.m. like DiGiorno stuck to his Knicks corner zip. Luol, 4G, God.
He tries to wake up Joakim Noah and get him to come back.
That's what he has nightmares about. Those are Tibbs's nightmares. They're like Kemba Walker at the POA and Joakim not showing up.
Oh God.
Oh man.
Oh, Tibbs.
I've had hot pockets stronger than his knees. Send Kemba to the bench. All right, we're done. We're done here. Man,
hot pockets stronger than his knees is good.
Mark Williams. 7'2". What the hell?
7'2". Why wouldn't he say he was 7'2"? By the way, I guess he just wanted to stun everyone. He was thinking ahead. He was waiting for this one. He was like having, Beyonce did her surprise album drop. She was like, screw it. This one's breaking the world. This one's breaking the internet. Hey, 7'2". Mark's a smart guy.
242 pounds of Mark Williams. 6.5 wingspan. And his standing reach is 9'9".
He's a large man.
His standing reach is 9'9". That's the height of the rim. That's the height of the basket. Wow. Isaiah Jackson is the name that I keep coming back to from last year as like the developmental big of the draft. If Isaiah Jackson measured in like this, all right, he's the more switchable guy. He's the guy who drew some Mitchell Robinson comparisons from Nick draft scouts that like, Nick Twitter draft scouts, not actual ones, as if I talked to any of those. Yeah. Man, Mark Williams, he reminds me a little bit more, and again, this point's been made on draft class. He's a bit more of like your DeAndre Jordan type than he is your Rudy Gobert, your switchable. But I'm talking prime DeAndre Jordan. We're talking Lob City. You gotta enlighten us here on draft class about Mark Williams. We know you are a Blue Devil fan, and this has been the guy I've heard you talk about more than Paolo or Trevor. So, what's the case for him? If the Knicks, I don't think they would sit there at 11 and just take him, right? But how many times have they traded back for their guy now in the first round? Where 2 for 2, even though they took Obi, but in 2 drafts with 2 years under Leon, they've traded back in the first and gotten their guy. How do you feel about Mark Williams as a potential trade back candidate if the Knicks want to move back a couple spots?
Well, obviously, like you just said, I would love it if they drafted him because I'm a Duke fan, so I'm completely biased. But yeah, I've talked to you about Mark a ton because look, nobody needs to talk about Paolo. Everybody's talking about Paolo, so I feel like I got to talk about Mark. And he was, ACC Defensive Player of the Year. Obviously, everybody knows how good a defender he is, and he's going to be in the league, and he's going to be a great rim runner, great lob threat in the league. I think he proved that. His freshman year wasn't very good. Didn't get a lot of playing time, inconsistent playing time. This year, he just broke out, and he wasn't expected to have this good a year either. Like at the beginning of the year, his playing time was, again, inconsistent, like had to compete to get into the rotation really. And, it's tough to get minutes there. And he just stepped up. And I think he's more than just like a lob threat. I think he shows signs of touch around the basket too. And also 72% free throw shooter. So showed signs that he can shoot the basketball. I'm not saying he's going to go out to the 3-point line.
I was going to say, do you think he has, not 3-point, do you think he has the mobility to pick and pop out on the baseline to Taj Gibson range and let him fly?
I've seen there's been signs that he can do that. Yeah. He's played in the post and at times at Duke. Now, the thing is, he played such a specific role there that it's kind of like we talked at the beginning about Travion Williams, how they asked him to do one specific thing and nothing else, really. And Mark Williams was kind of in a box at Duke, because they had all these ISO players, and he was the rim runner guy who set screens. So it's going to be interesting to me to see what he's more capable of doing in the NBA, because I think he's capable of posting up and shooting a little bit outside the rim. I don't think he's going to be like, I think he can be better than Mitchell Robinson. Like, Mitch can't do anything outside of 2 feet away from the rim.
Don't talk to me about who could be better than Mitchell Robinson, because I've been trying to tell people for years.
I know you were on that train first before everyone else.
No, it's not. It's not about that I was on it before everyone else. It's that we're at a point now where people should be able to see what I've seen. Like, what I've been trying to share for like 3 years now is really apparent after his 4th year here. Yeah. And there are still people that like were telling me he was going to be Bill Russell, who then the next year were telling me he was going to be Rudy Gobert, who then the next year were telling me he maybe could be Rudy Gobert, who are now telling me we should give him $14 million a year because he might be able to be a top 10 center in the league. And it's like, do you notice a trend here? Yeah. Have you noticed something every single year that we've talked about this player, about your expectations for him? Because they're lowering faster than, God, whichever stock you want me to make a joke about. I just can't.
DraftKings, Netflix.
Yeah.
Pick one.
Netflix is good. Can't fathom it. I think if you want to argue that the Knicks letting Mitchell Robinson walk to take a developmental big while they only have a future backup potentially on their team, if that's how you evaluate Sims, and you want to say that that's not a smart idea, okay, I can have that discussion with you, and I might end up agreeing with you. But to say that like the Knicks shouldn't draft a center at all because they've got Mitch and Jericho, I think is nuts, because Mitch very well might not be here. So
yeah, I completely agree with you. And the uncertainty around Mitch makes the Williams or Durant pick even more likely, even more strong, why they should lean towards it. Now, I'm not saying that should be number one priority. I realize that they have that wing is a bigger priority, but I think people are discounting like the big argument too much. And I think that the idea that like bigs are ancient and completely out of the league and should be obsolete is wrong too. Like Alex Fataros, who I love, was talking about that and like saying that, comparing bigs to like running backs the other day, and I was just like that. I don't see that. Yeah, I just don't see that. Like,
I think you can argue like backup centers are totally like that. You could just keep them coming on vet mins or whatever you want to do. But there's also more fun ways to go about it, right? I just think if you're a contender, you could say having a backup center, always be a veteran minimum guy is fine until you draft someone like, well, the Hawks aren't a contender, but if you're in a position like the Warriors to draft someone like Wiseman or a Kungwu, and you did the pick that I said they should have done, take a Kungwu, and now you have a starting center, but he was a backup back then. That's fine too. But yeah, I don't know. I think drafting centers is fine. I'll put it like this.
But it's not drafting a center at 2 like the Warriors did. It's 11 or trading down a little bit.
Isaiah Jackson at 17 was like an A pick to me. I think getting a player, you have to get the center outside of the lottery that you think is worth a lottery pick that fell out because he's a center. I know that's a super thin slice of cake there out of that player pool, but Isaiah Jackson, a pick for me. And if, say Mark Williams is sitting there at 17 through 20 and someone grabs him, that's going to be an A pick for me this year. I just can't fathom a world where these lottery caliber centers, these developmental bigs, go in the late teens, and I'm mad at it. I just can imagine one where the Knicks are in a situation where they could add another wing, whether it's Eason, Sohan, Mathurin, Williams, guard more, but right, like they could add a whole plethora of wings here and be in a situation where like they're actually set as hell to start turning the wheels to add someone really significant to this core, and they go and drop the 11th pick on Jalen Duren, I'm going to be like, dude, really?
Yeah.
Like, come on. Or, but if they trade back and get an extra first and still grab Mark Will and take the extra first and go trade for someone like Cameron, you know what I mean? Like, okay, now we're cooking with gas. So it's all about how they handle it. It's all about how they go about building the roster as a whole. But yeah, I'm not against drafting centers as like a concept. It's just got to be, the value's got to be right.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I think there's, like you pointed out, the Wiseman thing, there's just a spot to take them. Yeah. And there's a reason that no big board or no mock has either one of these guys too high. Yeah. Like, I don't think any team is going to take Duren or Williams in the top, or maybe Duren. I've seen him in the top 10 in a couple different mocks, but I agree with you on the centers thing. I think if they're going to take either one of them, trade down to take them, I don't think you could go wrong with either one of them. But I think there's higher priorities than a big man. I think if like they really like Mark Williams, I think he would be a great fit for them. And I think he's going to be a really good player. But as there are higher priorities for the team, I understand that, unfortunately.
Yeah, it makes sense though. And we have Jericho Sims, and we got him with the 58th pick in last year's draft. So praise be to Aller. Yeah.
That's exactly it. You cling to that because I'm not clinging to the fact that we're bringing back Mitchell Robinson.
Jericho Sims' deal is very favorable for us. I cannot say the same when there's a 3 for $40 on the table to Mitch and he signs it. Like, I don't know. I'm just not doing that deal. I would offer him a 325
oh my God, he's not signing that.
Okay, that's fine. All right.
3 for 25. He's gone.
Okay.
The Pistons are going to outbid you on that.
All right. If he wants to leave New York for Detroit, they can swing us an asset and I'll see him there. They want to swing us Isaiah Stewart, 2 second rounders like Jeremy.
Okay.
See you, Mitch. Yep. Yeah. It's that easy.
I wouldn't do that if I was them, to be honest.
Exactly. All right.
I don't think
I got 2 guys whose measurements I gotta bring up. And it's because I don't think I love either for New York. I don't. I just want to talk about them. And I think draft class is supposed to be about building an understanding of the whole draft class and not just Nick targets, but also give listeners a sense of some guys that other teams may be looking to move up for, maybe looking to move down for, etc. Just build a little more holistic knowledge on this year's draft. We got Tennessee freshman Kennedy Chandler, and we got Notre Dame freshman Blake Wesley. 2 guys, 2 very different measurements and 2 different play styles that I want to talk about. Kennedy Chandler, 6 feet tall, 6'5" wingspan, 172 pounds. And if I had to guess, soaking wet, 172 pounds. Blake Wesley, 6'4" and a quarter, 6'9" and a quarter on the wingspan, 187 pounds for Wesley. So again, not very bulked up there, either one here, but yeah, Wesley 4 inches taller, 4 inches longer on the wingspan, and 15 pounds heavier. Chandler, we know, is a small guard, but is a bit of a wizard at that spot. How do you feel about him? You can start with Kennedy Chandler and then Blake Wesley too. He's someone I really like in this class.
Cards on the table. For my podcast, we just talked to Tennessee assistant Greg Polinsky about Kennedy Chandler. So we came away like, okay, Kennedy Chandler is going to be amazing because this guy who coached or scouted in the NBA for 20 years talked to us about Kennedy Chandler and how he would draft him. But he was, by the way, also he was in scouting. He talked to us about how smart Walt Perrin was. So go to Knicks State of Mind podcast if you want to hear that one. He was very honest with us about Kennedy Chandler, though, this guy. And he said, like, he understood like the question marks about him and his, obviously he's undersized, but he also, he was a streaky shooter, but the shot came on at the end of the year. And he he even mentioned like when he got to college, like the kid pretty much didn't know how to play defense. Yeah. Like he just had to be taught how to play defense in college. And he said like when he learned how to play defense in college, like he was really good. He was really good. And if you look at clips of him or if you watch games, whatever, he's a good defender. I just don't think he's, going to be an elite player, obviously, Kennedy Chandler. And, they say this is a weak point guard draft, and obviously he benefits from that, and he's going to be a first round pick. But like I said, the assistant was honest with us, and he said, like, yeah, he grades out in like the back of the lottery or whatever he said, like early, like late first round right now. But he also talked, and I know you love this, about the work ethic. He also talked about how hard the kid works.
That is not just me who loves that. And again, a plug to previous episodes. Episode 4, really, I think the one on draft class that we touched on this the most with Schwinn was New York's type and Leon's type as a former agent. That's them. They really like that. There's a reason that IQ, is an Obi, even like Grimes. These guys work. Yeah, and I know he's obviously not like a fit for us specifically, but yeah, I don't know. I'm rooting for him. Yeah. Also, one of my best friends is a Tennessee alum, so she's just a huge fan of him. But yeah, he's definitely fun to watch too, I think. So I'm definitely going to be following his career wherever he ends up. And who was the other guy you said? Blake Wesley, Notre Dame.
Blake Wesley.
He came in at 6'4", 6'9" wingspan, 187. He is, I guess I've had him described as a wing. I have him under guard on my positionally split up board. That's because under guard, I have guys from Chandler to Ivy to Bryce McGowan's to a lot, like all kinds of guards, combo, 1-2, 1-2, whatever. Right. I think Blake is like the 2-3 kind of guard, where that length allows him, maybe if the other team is going small, to guard their 3 if they're playing a 2 at the 3. But he's really just kind of like a 2. I like Wesley. I think he's someone who has shown enough where he could be on a pretty high upside swing, but that's the thing. He could be a swing. So that is the real thing with Blake Wesley there. The other side of it is that there's someone that didn't have great touch, wasn't a great shooter, wasn't a great finisher, but kind of could do these things and looked really good doing them, just couldn't do them well. And I talked about this with Sam Vecini. He mentioned how Jordan Poole obviously was always more fluid, more natural out there on the court, and just had the feel kind of that Wesley doesn't seem to. But I don't know, man. Poole's feel was kind of bad. So yeah, even if it was naturally bad, I feel like Wesley could get to a decent enough point where he's not Jordan Poole, but like that kind of development arc where it's like, hey, this guy got good at dribbling, finishing, and shooting after getting drafted. What? Yeah. But didn't Poole spend it? Yeah. Didn't Poole spend a year in the G League, or am I? He spent time there, like definitely. Yeah. Like I think the Warriors didn't want him going, but he did. Like the Warriors, the players didn't want him going down, but the team did. Yeah, I think Wesley could use that too. Not maybe not like a whole season like Poole, or like you just described with Poole, maybe like parts of a season or some of that. Like when we started looking all into the draft stuff, because I don't look into it all season like you do. I just get into it at some point, and I saw his name come up, and I'm like, Notre Dame. Notre Dame had a guy on that team who is going to be in the NBA. Like, and then I saw he was a freshman, Blake Wesley, and I'm like, man, nobody on that team really popped to me as an NBA player. And then it just didn't. And that's probably not as much about him as it was about Notre Dame.
And then I went back and looked and I'm like, shit, I guess I just missed the guy. Like
No, he has games where he goes like 4 of 17 and you're like, Jesus Christ, dude. Like, holy moly. And then he has games where in like 3 plays out of 5, he uses his length to get a steal, takes it coast to coast, brings it down the other end, gets the stop, brings it back down, crosses a guy up and pulls up from midi on him. And then the next play, you know, gets burned, but gets the guy back and dimes someone for a lob. And you're like, oh, I think that kid just took over this game. I think, what did I just watch that kid do that? Yeah. And he has games where he hits from 3. Wesley had a game where he hit 6 threes. And I know this is like the worst thing ever is to go watch a prospect's best shooting game and go make, you know, decisions about who they're going to be as an NBA
I like watching like the worst games they play.
Exactly. Well, Bryce McGowan's is a really good candidate for that. That guy has like 4 for 23 performances.
Oh, really?
You just watch him stink it up and you're like, God, he looks good doing it. You know what I mean? Like he just looks so natural.
Ryan Rollins has some cool bad games too.
Yeah.
He always looks cool.
A fun name. He's a fun name. But yeah, basically Wesley might be really special because of the development arc that he would need to take to get to that point, you know, like it just might be really cool. He might be a really cool draft pick in a couple of years. So he's someone that interests me. I just think the Knicks, if it were 2 years ago, and this would like, he was our Quickly, you know, that I would be like, yeah, we'll develop him along and whatever. But you know, we took Grimes last year. We took Deuce and didn't even play him because Tibbs wanted guys that were ready to contribute on his defense. Like, we have our E team ready to go for Tibbs. So I can't see Wesley coming to the Knicks. I think they take a total swing on someone like Jalen Williams, for example, before they go there. Speaking of, let's talk about Slender Man. Let's talk about those measurements. I know the combine performance was really impressive from him. I'll do those stats in a second. But yeah, Jalen Williams, Sam Vecini said today, if his text messages from scouts are any indication, he's the combine's big winner. Williams had 19 points on 7 for 8 shooting today, 4 rebounds to go with that. He's one of 2 players in draft combine history to reach these ridiculously specific thresholds for leaping ability. 33 and a half standing vertical, 3.11 second 3/4 sprint for speed, and a 1.116 wingspan by height ratio. It's him and Donovan Mitchell are the only 2 guys ever to fall in that, again, really weird category that Brian Kalbrowski came up with. 6'6", 7'2" wingspan, wing bet. Like when you're talking about guys that have a chance to take over a playoff game or just be a real thorn in the other team's ass for 48 minutes, like because they just can't figure out how to stop them from scoring at all. This is one of them. This kid will get, the Cam Reddish steals with his wingspan, those deflections. And he's going to be able to score. He had some plays this year that people used as like, hey, Chet Holmgren isn't a good defender plays. And it was just Jalen Williams being insane. So yeah, he's really impressive. How do those combine numbers make you feel? Would you agree that anyone who measures in with those stats is probably going to be the winner of a combine?
Yeah, I guess if you win a combine by the way you measure instead of the scrimmage stuff, I thought that's how you, but yeah, I mean, if he really outperformed that much, like those are crazy numbers, like absolutely absurd. But I thought he was good before that. I just didn't realize how much has he shot up with that? Has he gone like into the lottery with that?
Let's see. I want to say that before this week, I probably didn't hear much first round buzz for him. If any significant first round buzz for him, there wasn't much going around. No one was really talking about it. I'm not claiming to be ridiculously involved behind the scenes here, but this was not something that was a real topic of conversation. And now, like, top 20 is probably like the worst outcome you're hearing. The lottery seems to be the lottery talent that may go like 16 seems to be the latest thought. I don't know when the NBA is going to decide on their green room invites, but he's someone I could see. They tend to invite guys that they think will be gone by 20. He's someone that I could see getting a call there, because when you have a lottery ticket, especially if you're a team from 15 to 19, that's a playoff team that has a close to lottery pick, and you can get a kid like this with that pick. I don't know. Why not? Right? If you think you have a good coach, if you think you have a good coaching staff, and you can get a 6'6" player with a 7.
I love the wingspan. You see wingspan, and I love it. I see 40% from 3 on how a good sample size. What is this? 106 3-point attempts. I mean, yeah, you could do a lot worse. I like him.
Jalen Williams is really, really intriguing. And I cannot help but think that the front office that loved the length of Quickly 6'9" wingspan. McBride has a pretty good wingspan too. And Jericho Sims, right?
I know the amount of times we've said wingspan on this podcast.
It's the combine week.
It's a wingspan. Week. It's a wingspan season.
This is wingspan week. This is I'll come up with the pun for the title of this episode.
Hey, I'm working on a Mo Bamba thing, so I'm about to drop wingspan about 1,000 times in an article.
There you go. There you go. One of your magic guys.
Yeah.
To kind of wrap on Williams, do you think that say his ability to get to the rim, the perimeter defense, shot making, OTD, and playmaking, it's all there, everything hits, right? And you have someone who is probably your third option on a not so amazing team, or maybe your second option on a kind of stinky one. Yeah. Third to fourth on a serious one. Well, yeah, I don't know. That seems like the kind of pick that New York could make here, that going for a ground out double, I don't know. I don't know if hitting a double here, or trying to hit a double and maybe potentially even getting out. Yeah, I feel like.
Are you talking about trading down and taking him?
We could swing. I could swing at 11, man. If I wake up on the right side of the bed, I might just do it.
Well,
I really, if I were parent, I might be like, yo, honestly, man, I haven't seen something like this since I worked out Donovan Mitchell. And even though I don't love, maybe he might not love how Spida has turned out development wise because of the lack of focus on defense and stuff. That's not really parents' shtick. Yeah, I think he's willing to run that bet back on someone double the size.
Wow. Yeah. That seems like a reach for a guy to jump. You were saying he might be undrafted and now jump all the way up to 11.
It was not undrafted. It was no.
The first round. Sorry.
First round buzz. Maybe go 28 because some team that's bad traded for that. The Thunder have the 28th pick and they go for some swing there. And then that would have been where he went.
We never meet him.
Yeah, 25 to OKC.
Yeah,
something like that. No, I could see. Imagine if everyone knew Josh Primo was potentially going lottery before he did. That's Jalen Williams this year. So yeah, pretty interesting, in my opinion.
He's 21 years old, right? So he's a junior from a mid-major. All of those things I like. I hate the idea that you can't pick a guy high in the draft because he's not a teenager. I hate that so much. So if he's 21 years old, we played on a really good team last year. I don't know, man. He had a breakout season in his junior year, and
his over points was free money last year, apparently.
Yeah, I know. And I don't know. I like that. It looks like, he just broke out as a junior, and he, I guess, didn't struggle before that, but it's a good, you don't want to take a guy because of a story or anything, but it's fun to be like, oh, you don't have to take someone, you don't have to pass on someone just because, they're a certain age. We saw that with Obi Toppin. Yeah. Like people were like, oh, fuck, we're taking this elderly man with the 8th pick. And I am guilty of that too.
Right.
Like I was like, I can't believe we just took that guy. But I don't know. Honestly, at this point, whoever, they've proven themselves so much in terms of Walt Parent, whoever they took at 11, even if they traded down, I don't want them to trade down, but I would be fine with whoever they took. I'd be like, this guy's probably going to be pretty good. I mean, I know eventually everybody misses. So that's good. I'm sure Perrin missed in Utah. So,
yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like they've done really well so far. They can afford now to I don't know.
That's what you mean, right? They can afford to take a
crazy swing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, hey, you could do a lot worse than, like I said, dude shot 40% from 3 and 44% on catch and shoot threes. Shit, man. I would be pissed. I would not be pissed if they drafted him. A guy who can shoot. Again, a guy who can shoot and knows how to play defense. I'm not gonna be mad.
Absolutely. Love it. All right. That's, we got to think about who Perrin's guys are. I know Stacy tweeted today, Johnny Davis and Tari Eason, between the defense, between the motor, the versatility, seem to be guys that stick out to him as like,
those are the guys, huh?
Would be Knicks types.
Mm-hmm.
One more guy I got to talk about here with these combine results is EJ Liddell. He is just like Mr. Production to me. He's like the Jeremiah Robinson Earl, like those super boring. But then he's got this other little thing to him where it's like he can do stuff with the ball in his hands. Like, when Grant Williams kind of is just like off one and takes a guy off the dribble and you're like, whoa, what? EJ Liddell does that. And it's like, hey, Grant Williams is a comp that he gets for his play style regardless. So him having those little spurts of like that, those fun plays, like, I don't know. It's really interesting to me. Obviously, something that's really important when you're evaluating guys is trying to project a role for them. And with Liddell, like if he came in and had a really, really good vertical reach, which, for me implies that he's going to be able to potentially be developed as a small ball 5. And he's going to be able to potentially offer help as a weak side rim protecting 4.
He's a great defender. He's a great defender.
Yeah. And then given that those two lanes of help are now opened up by this stat, like this ability of his, I see roles for him, plural, in the NBA. Versatility is all of a sudden a word in EJ Liddell's lexicon, evaluating him as a player here. And now, you're not just, I think this guy's a 4 that reminds me of Grant Williams. Not like, this guy is a 4 that reminds you of Grant Williams, like in all the right ways, not in a boring way. It should be in all the right ways. He was really productive. A contender could add him and be happy with having him off the bench year 1. I feel like he went to the combine last year, got sent home. They told him, dude, you are not ready for this. He went home. Did another year of school, came back. And I really hope he goes first round. So
he was so good this year.
I would take him first round for sure. Top 25 even.
Yeah. He was so good this year defensively. Yeah. When I was reading, when you asked me to come on, I was reading up a little bit about some of the guys said you wanted to talk about. And when they talked about him, like they mentioned the game he had against Paolo and how well he guarded Paolo. And I'm like, yeah, I remember that. He was really good against Paolo and he was really good against Kofi too. He just beat the shit out of Kofi. And Kofi Cockburn, whatever his fucking name is. Yeah, whatever he goes by. He is a Mack truck and he bullied Kofi. Oh my God. Yeah, like this guy, he's legit. He's a really good defender. I think and He can shoot too now. Yeah, I don't know. He's like you said with the Knicks. They love guys who work hard and obviously hustle guys, and he kind of goes right hand in hand with the Knicks. Showing up to the draft combine, getting sent home, working his ass off, turning himself into a better player.
Reminds me of Grimes not being good at Kansas as a primary and going home to Houston and redefining his role.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
even if that Ohio State team was wildly overrated, but
yeah, well, if they move on from Mr. Randall, there suddenly there's an opportunity, for Grimes, Reddish, and potentially Liddell to come off the bench, right? Maybe everyone's talking about how they might trade up. Maybe they trade back into the first and add 2 guys again, and then have a whole team of a young core. Like, I doubt that, right? But maybe
whole team of guys for Tibbs not to play.
Which means he's got to play a ball. So, yeah, hey, force him into it, right?
Got to moneyball Tibbs, man. That's the only way. You got to moneyball him.
Randall being gone is step 1 of that. So yeah, leaving RJ is that we want to be complaining that RJ is getting too many reps next year. So that's the only way this is going to go down. That's the least of the evils. But yeah, so a lot of interesting combine results. I want to get quickly to some of these scrimmage results as well. We can start off. I don't know which one of the games you want to start with. For me, we talked about Jalen Williams. He went 7 for 8. He went 2 for 2 from 3, 4 rebounds, 1 assist. That's 19 total points. He did have 4 fouls, but he had a steal too. So that's nice, and a block. That was pretty good for him in about 27 minutes today at the scrimmage. Someone that's interesting for me, Michael Foster Jr., 14 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist for him, only 2 personal fouls. I was talking to a friend that said that he reminded them a lot of Taj. And I totally get it. He played for the Ignite. He's 6'8", but he's like a center, and he does all the same like Taj-isms, like on offense, the little one dribble move, yeah. So he was being coached by Urban as well. Also on Urban's team, Alondis Williams. He did 10, 3, 5 assists and only 1 turnover. Jan Montero, 8 points, 1 assist, 2 turnovers. Not gorgeous there. And then Ron Harper Jr. was on Urban's team. And then the other team
took 3 shots, Ron Harper Jr.
Yeah.
In 22 minutes. That's not great.
Well, he had the highest plus minus on his team.
I know. It's not great that they
single game plus minus, Chip. It's come on, man.
It only matters when it helps you out. Single game plus minus.
There's Ron Harper with a really good one. So it's a very important stat. Darion Zebron also on Urban's team. And then on the other team, you had Champagne, Travion Williams.
Tough day for Travion.
4 points there. Yeah. Scottie Pippen Jr. on that team too. So,
he got his money's worth, Scottie Pippen, if you watch that one. So Scottie Pippen Jr.
8 for 18 for him. How'd you feel about this scrimmage? Any thoughts from the other ones? I just kind of called out the box score here because it had a lot of guys we mentioned on this episode here.
I did miss this one. I was working during this one, but just looking at the box score here, the first thing that stuck out was, Travion had a tough game here, but I would have liked to have seen more from Ron Harper, but we talked about Jalen Williams already, but that's the big deal there. 7 of 8 in a scrimmage. And for people who haven't watched these scrimmages yet and think it's like an exhibition thing, these kids are working. Like that's legit 7 of 8. These kids are trying to guard. It's not like an all-star game or something, or a high school McDonald's All-American game. These kids are really D'ing up. So to go 7 of 8 in that scrimmage is really impressive. Like you said, this guy isn't just like, it's not just, the combine measurements. I'm more impressed by the fact that he did this, to be honest. And that's what I'm most impressed by. And the Julian Champagny having a 1 for 7 days kind of depressing. Just I root for the local guys, man. I just want them to do. I want Jared Rhoden to do well too. I was hoping. Yeah. I really want Jared Rhoden to do well. I really like him. I mean, the same reason we want Miles Powell to be on the Knicks.
Fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Have some fun with it. This game 3 scrimmage featured Leonard Miller, John Butler, Andrew Nembhard, Christian Braun, Josh Minot, Hugo Besson, Colin Gillespie, Drew Timme. So a lot of names here. Leonard
Kofi.
Miller. Oh,
Kofi
yeah.
too.
Kofi as well. 19 for him. 11 boards for him as well. Significant in this game. Andrew Nembhard played 30 minutes, but 26 points and 11 assists. Nothing to yawn at. Leonard Miller, 4 for 8, 1 for 3 from 3, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 6 personal fouls, 9 points. Leonard Miller just, again, looking like the prospect where you watch his highlights and you think that he could be Jalen Williams. You think, hey, this could be that kid they're talking about that has that crazy wingspan that is super, fluid and twitchy and all. But then he's not, and he doesn't know how to do a thing on the basket
scrimmage.
He doesn't know how to do a thing on the basketball court. He's hilarious, but yeah, I think his name is getting a little too big for him right now. Like if he goes at 36 somewhere, he can develop into like amazing value at that slot. If he goes 25 somewhere, I think he can develop into a positive net value return on that slot.
Are we sure he's going? Is he sure? Sorry, that he's going in? Has he decided to go in yet?
I think we got to see after this combine.
Okay.
And see what kind of feedback he gets. College might be calling his name, man. So we got to look. Christian Braun, 17 points, 8 3-point attempts. He got 3 of them to go. He's a shooter for sure. 4 rebounds as well. Man, Andrew Nembhard, I'm just looking at this, freaking 2 for 9 from 3, but he went 10 for 18 from the field. So you'll take that. John Butler had a good game, 4 for 10 only, but 3 for 8 from outside, 16 points, 3 rebounds and an assist for him. Yeah. So Team Weaver, pretty fun there. Hugo Besson, Evan Fournier is a big fan of him. I mentioned to you, he had 4 assists, 4 rebounds and 14 points on 3 for 8, 2 for 6 from 3. Gillespie, 1 for 7, really rough game. Josh Minot, one of the big question marks, one of the he could go 11 on draft night, not 11. He could go 10 to the Wizards or something, or 12, whatever team. And people are going to be like, what? That would be like the Josh Primo of this year, also named Josh. Yeah. And then you've got Drew Timme, who did 21 points, 4 rebounds and an assist. That was cool for him. 7 for 7 from the free throw line.
That was cool for him.
That
was another head pat right there.
Yeah, I'm not a big
believer.
I'm not a big fan. I do think that there's like a long career in there. If the development track goes a certain way and he carves out a role, he can't be trying to do too much. He's got to carve out a role and accept like a long career as a good vet. And just start early, playing like a vet.
I mean, he was the guy at Gonzaga. So.
Yeah, and I can see him being that presence for an NBA team, but not on the court. I don't know what he's doing on the court to go up against Valanciunas, Ayton, these guys down low. Like, what is Drew Timme? It's like Kelly Olynyk, maybe, right? Like, he's bigger a bit, but. Oh yeah. Well, exactly. You know what? It's like a we'll see thing. Game 2 featured a game-winning basket from Darion Sebron. This was again that Team Ehrman team playing. Jalen Williams, 11 points on 5 for 8 that game, 1 for 2 from 3, and he had 4 rebounds and an assist. Alondas, 3 for 10 that game, 4 assists, but 8 points on 3 for 10. Really, really not pretty. Michael Foster, that kid that I keep comping to Taj, 5 points, 6 boards, 3 assists. So there's like there's a little something in there. Again, a lot of these guys are getting a lot of turnovers because they're playing with these guys for the first time. But Basson played for the other team and had no assists that game. Yeah, so this was a fun one. But some good performances, and then in that first scrimmage there, Trevion 5 for 13. You had Ryan Rollins go 5 for 9, put up 11 points. He's really fun, as we talked about.
Love Ryan Rollins.
Jalen Williams, the center, the 6. He was 2 for 6. Never mind. Never mind. I thought that was Jabari Walker who went 6 for 9. But yeah, so we had some scrimmages as well. The Knicks definitely paid attention to, as we talked about. Anyone here? Obviously, Jalen Williams, we know from Santa Clara, stock is through the roof here. But anyone after these scrimmages that you're now thinking about for the Knicks that you hadn't really thought about much earlier?
Honestly, no, not really. No one knew from the scrimmages. Like the people that I watched in the scrimmages and came out like, wasn't like I didn't already like them. Like I watched the one scrimmage because Ryan Rollins was in it and I wanted to see him and I already want him on the Knicks. And now he's being talked about so much. It's like, he's not even underrated anymore. He's just a really good player that's going to be drafted. So, and I like you were talking about Leonard Miller earlier. I like him. I don't think the Knicks should draft him, but I like Trevion too. I like a lot of these guys that obviously I love. Ron Harper. I do like Williams too from Wake. As much as I was goofing on him a little bit earlier with you, I do think he's going to be good. And I know you want to talk about him. That's why I brought him up.
He is probably a top 3 passer in this draft at worst.
He is.
At worst.
He's insanely good.
If you're just betting on the shooting, I always bring up Marcus Smart and Derek White both as like the thick guard archetype for him. Offensively, at least. But yeah, I really think that he can carve more than a role for himself.
What do you mean more than a role? Like an all-star?
No, just like be worth a lottery pick, even if he doesn't go there. Someone that you look back and you're like, man, he could have gone like 13th. That would have been fine. Not Duarte, a little bit, maybe like he living up to that draft stock, like not play style, but just like the philosophy of them as a prospect. I really like Alondas. I caught Prezitis on that one because he got me, and he had that tweet that I had sent to you because it does a good job of making the case. I'll read it now because we love Prez here on Draft Class. He says, it feels like most people agree that breaking down defenses off the dribble for rim baskets is the most important skill, that playmaking sets apart good scorers from good offensive players. Shooting's the easiest skill to improve. Size matters and you can't improve it. But then he's like, with all these things are true, how is Alondas not in the lotto? Of course, he went and clarified that it's, shooting may not be the easiest, but it's not hard to improve. And he clarified that Sebron, if he was a better playmaker, would be in this same conversation because of the shooting, the lack of shooting as well. But Alondas, man, he's got it. And I just think he's someone who like will get on an NBA court because good things happen when he's on one, and then we'll be able to stay on it because he's gets better at making more and more good things happen. Guys like Obi, guys like IQ, you can't put it into words. They're just like good things happeners, like on both ends of the court. Even Obi, all the crap he got for his defense, like guys are more active when he's on the floor, right? So I have Alondas in that category of just like, yeah, like he is going to, hey, his card for my physical big board here just popped out of my side of my eye as I saw it, as I said his name. Yeah, I like him a lot. I think the Knicks would be well off to consider him, but
no, I think he's going to be very good, and I don't blame you. I remember when Prez was all in on Grant Riller, yeah, and me. Well, me and Jeff tracked down a assistant coach from the College of Charleston to talk to him about him because we liked Riller so much on our podcast.
I loved Riller too. And then his knees were carnitas. I mean, I felt so bad. It was like, it was literally like RIP to the concept of like Grant Riller as we once knew him, which is just like the really heartbreaking side of injuries in sports.
It's really sad.
Yeah.
He's really, really good. Yeah, really good.
But we love Prez guys is the moral. So, you know, even a Prez, I think on his like time machine column of his big board that he introduced, put like a sad face next to Grant Riller when he put him in there.
Oh,
I want to say, yeah, I got the sense that he's still in mourning. But basically, I've got one more question for you before we wrap up episode 6 here, Draft Class. And it's a look at what we've got going on television right now. Heat versus Celtics. We've got the Mavs and the Warriors playing tonight. Not just this round, the couple games that have been played, but the playoffs in general this year. Has anything changed about your draft philosophy? Or maybe you have to think about it a little, but have these playoffs changed your draft philosophy? Have they highlighted an archetype of player to you that you want more of on your team or less of on your team? Have the Celtics not having a point guard, does that make you lower on Kennedy Chandler? Does Trae Young make you higher on Kennedy Chandler? What do you think? How do these playoffs affecting Chip's draft philosophy?
Not too much, because I think we've always needed the same. I think we need a wing who can create and score. And I don't think that changes my philosophy on it. I think I look at like what happened with the Nets, and I'm like, okay, it takes more than just guys who can score to win. We also need to add guys who can defend. Obviously, guys on wing defenders is something you also obviously need. Yeah. And the Nets didn't have any of that. And look what happened. They had maybe the greatest scorer of all time, and they still couldn't win because they didn't have anyone who could defend on the wing. Look at the Utah Jazz. They have one of the greatest defensive big men that I've ever seen.
Nope. It's his fault that all their perimeter defenders suck.
Exactly. All of their perimeter defenders suck. Draft one good perimeter defender. Yeah. One. And
they just traded for Alexander Walker. Like he was, like the prophet that was going to come save them, because he's the only switchable whatever that they've got. The ghost of Rudy Gay was Danny Ainge's big idea to come save their Rudy defense.
Gay, that's who it was. I thought it was didn't someone bring in Daniel House to try and save them? It was someone brought
the Knicks, but the Jazz brought him in too. And then
the Jazz brought him in too. Yeah.
The players all turned on him. They were all remember that clip? They were all just literally all circled around him, shitting on him for something. Jesus. And he was there, he got to a point where he stood up and was like, you know what, screw you all, because they were just all ganging up on him. He's like, bro, I'm Daniel House. I'm not the reason where the Utah Jazz are losing. He was like, let's look at the guy who makes the most money is about to get a max deal and
can't guard anybody. Yeah.
I always say
won't guard anybody.
The meme, it's like flirting versus harassment. And it'll be like, it's like Donovan Mitchell and Trae Young guarding the point of attack. Like Trae Young is harassment. Donovan Mitchell's flirting, because they do the same thing, but one is seen as disgusting and the other is like, oh well, he's an athlete. Yeah.
No, it's Russell Westbrook passing himself off as a good defender. He got away with it for a long time, but eventually he was exposed as it. Yeah.
Hey, even Chris Paul right now is his anti-PR tour. The players are trying to sully his name. Guys calling him a traffic cone, and a very noticeable silence in terms of who came out and defended him after that. It was like Chandler Parsons. That was it. Something like that. It was like Matt Barnes, and that was it that came out to defend CP3.
I mean,
one player.
Who shit on him other than Patrick Beverly though?
Well, Patrick Beverly went crazy and no one said a word. Everyone was just like, they
a lot of guys don't like him.
They let it breathe.
Yeah. Did LeBron defend him? You know what? I don't give a shit.
First of all, I know you don't care. Second of all, I don't think that means much anyway. LeBron, Listen, man, you are on a podcast of a fan base who had a LeBron tweet praising their playoff environment go up on the Jumbotron, and everyone booed it. LeBron goes, "It's loud as HE double hockey stick emojis in MSG." Whole audience is like, just, because everyone was screaming the whole game, and you just start hearing like, "Yeah." It grows. So all of a sudden, all of MSG is going, screaming. I look up at the screen. I'm like, is Trey on the screen? Like, it's a LeBron James tweet. So, you're on a Knicks pod. No LeBron. Chip, I can't thank you enough for joining me on this
Kris,
episode
please,
of
man.
Draft
This was
Class
great.
To react to the combine measurements, to these scrimmages, get some thoughts out, and hear yours. Such a pleasure. So thank you. I always ask, as I was taught by my KFS mentors, to allow our guests to plug anything and everything they'd like. So go ahead. I know you have an article that just came out, but I'll bury your lead for you.
Thank you. Yeah. I do have an article that just came out on Knicks Fan TV. It's about Tyus Jones. Should the Knicks sign Tyus Jones to be their next point guard, which a lot of people took the wrong way. Read the article. Do I mean it as the starting point guard? Do I mean it to come off the bench? Just read the article, please. A lot of people took it the wrong way, but it's on Knicks Fan TV. Check out everything on Knicks Fan TV. We have a great group of writers there. Alex Trataros, Jeff Campbell. We have great, and obviously just listen. You all know Knicks Fan TV, CP, CK, JD.
Hey, we just did a collab. Macri and CP just put up collab episode.
I saw that today. Yeah.
It's a shout out KFTV for Chip again here to go check out that episode for John and CP. I make an appearance asking a question about Mr. Manny Quick.
I saw Andrew's Thibodeau thing at the end too. That was a great episode. And what else did my podcast, I should probably say before I go on. Knicks State of Mind podcast, and a Twitter at Chip Murphy 7.